a good group of viewers now, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, hi everybody, we're excited to stream today. You know me, I'm Steph. I'm the producer here at Treehouse. So if you haven't been to the stream, I handle a lot of like the planning for the team, our roadmap. I do a lot of how we playtest externally, and get feedback from players and what gets shipped to you when. So that's like a lot of what I kind of handle in the day-to-day and kind of whatever the team needs. We've also got Andrew with us, who is our backend engineer and also does a lot of really awesome stuff, but he's here today to talk to you about both analytics and our dedicated servers. So kind of how we learn what players are doing in the games and also eventually how you'll be able to get into game. But before we kick into all of our topics, yes, I'm the Uber builder from last week's stream where everyone got to be so jealous of all the cheats. But before we get into the stream content for today, I just wanted to take a little bit of a moment to call out we do have a closed alpha playtest happening right now. You can sign up if you haven't signed up for our playtest group. We're letting people in all the time. We'll be running it for about the next 2 weeks. But there's a lot of really exciting updates. So if you're coming from the demo and you haven't played a bunch of the playtest content, there's a lot of really cool stuff to check out in the new build, and we'll kind of go over a little bit of what that stuff is. Let me gotta rearrange some stream stuff here real quick.
Okay,
I gotta go back to being small.
I'll read chat and entertain us.
Please.
Billy.
Are you not entertained? Yeah.
Billy says drink
I'm not a real
friends.
streamer. Awesome. Okay, so just wanted to kind of go over, so like I mentioned, we have a closed alpha test right now, has some really big updates. Are we still able to stream the playtest? Yes, so we are still allowing for people to stream the playtest. That'll probably be true indefinitely. For now, there might be some groups, if you're in like say our private playtest group, which gets even earlier content, that we probably don't allow streaming that, just because it's like a lot more experimental or like whip or maybe even super frustrating. That's our like earliest string of feedback. But for our regular bi-weekly playtest, we're currently allowing people to stream. We ask that you put in the description that it's a closed alpha playtest or something like that, just so people know that it's not like the released game. And also if they're looking at the demo and they're like, why is mine different? They kind of might be able to figure out why. But otherwise, you are allowed to stream. No embargo. And so some things that are really awesome that are in this current playtest are the entire second biome. We actually, I think, only did a small slice of it in the playtest last time. We had like one zone available. Pink headsets with glowing ears should become company standard dress code. I agree. Yeah, so we only really had one zone available. Now we have all 3 zones available. We have more levels of progression. The Reef is really awesome and really cool to play in, so hopefully you'll check that out. Also has some like new key features like the glider, which has also gotten some mechanical updates and some animation updates, so hopefully it's feeling a lot better. It's got these new corrupted spires, which are kind of like this biome progression mechanic where you're kind of like changing the biome and making more spaces like available and cleansing and driving back evil magic. So there's a bunch of new features. They also look really cool and scary. And also you can't imagine how many times we said pustules on the team while working on this feature. These little yellow things that you destroy to destroy the spire are called pustules, for better or for worse. We've got a ton of new underwater content, and a big focus, I think, we talked about in a few of our videos leading up to this point, was we really wanted to push the underwater space and make it more alive and add a bunch of new stuff. So we have a lot of new underwater content, new enemies, dodging ability, updates to the spear mechanics to make it easier to hit, spear fishing. So we replaced our like old fishing mechanic that had been kind of like sunset for a bit with a new spear fishing mechanic. So there's a bunch of fish underwater now that you can like see and hunt. We've improved the boat a lot, both buffing it, making some bug fixes, camera updates, quality of life updates, so we've made a lot of changes there. And buffed oxygen so you can spend more time in underwater seeing all that cool stuff. We've added armor, we've added a bunch of new crafting recipes and stations, as we mentioned. A lot of quality of life and feedback stuff directly from our last playtest too. We've got a lot of feedback about encumbrance and storage sizes, so we've done a bunch of updates to try to address feedback there. There's a lot of really cool content in this patch, so I really hope that you'll check it out. So I think Cheery linked, or the Voyagers of Nera account linked the playtest sign up link in the chat. So definitely make sure to go check that out. And I think also, if you are interested in continuing to get like updates, you know, the dev streams is one way that we do updates, but also we are in our community Discord a lot too. So I would say make sure to go join our community Discord if you're excited about being engaged in the community and excited to make suggestions and give feedback. That's like really one of the main places that we get feedback. So definitely that would be really great if you're really interested in that, to go join our Discord. And if you have ideas for like what you'd want to see happen in our Discord, like community events, or certain types of sneak peeks or any kind of content like that you are like, hey, I really wish that we did this in the Discord, or I really wish that like the community could participate more. We are really open to that and are really looking for opportunities to like ramp up how much we kind of are doing in Discord with people. So definitely check it out, join. And hopefully you can have some fun in some upcoming playtests. Does the ongoing playtest differ from the Steam demo? Good question. It does in a few ways. We update the demo much less often. So we update that only every few months right now, versus I think the Closed Alpha Playtest we do every 2 weeks. And the Closed Alpha Playtest is basically always seeing our latest content. So there will be some content that is going to be unavailable in the demo. Like we are not going to put our second biome in the demo, for example. So if you want to see some exclusive content, or you want to see like fresh content and give feedback on in development work, the playtest is the right spot to do that. But we will be shipping some updates to the demo itself, both some quality of life and improvements. So we'll be definitely putting a lot of the improvements every few months onto the demo. And there's an update coming to the demo actually next week. So there's one, the stuff that's in the current playtest, other than the second biome, is coming to the playtest, or sorry, to the demo next week. So you'll be able to see that content if you're not interested in playtesting, but you do want to kind of see the updates. So be on the lookout for that. And just one reminder for people that are going to either play in the next demo or switch to the playtest group, we do unfortunately do data wipes right now. You'll probably actually learn some of, I think, a little bit why as we like talk through
I think
some
that's
of the rest of the
mostly my
talk.
fault.
Well, it's all of our fault a little bit. We change the content a lot all the time, and so it's actually really hard to keep the data stable enough for us to like roll backwards and forwards. So there is a data wipe coming to the demo next week also. So if you're on the demo right now, you might want to like get your screenshots and get all of your stuff done that you want to get done, because there is a data wipe coming, but there's also a bunch of new cool content coming with it. But yeah, I think that is about it. So I just wanted to make sure to kind of let people know that playtest is active. So if you want to go check that out, you can go check it out right now. But otherwise, I think let's kick into some of the content for today. So AK, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself, talk about what we're going to talk about today. So, hey everyone, I'm Andrew, or some people call me AK, or that's how I go on the team because there's too many Andrews. And I had the unfortunate position of being the last one. And I'm a senior software engineer on the team. So, all the cool stuff that Steph just talked about with like the game updates, a lot of that, I don't touch most of that. I touch a lot of the things that are behind the scenes, things that get you into game, or in some cases keep you out of the game, and just like all around that stuff. Steph, are you able to share the Miro?
I do have it on the stream, so it
Oh,
should be
perfect.
up. And
Okay,
then
yeah.
just to not undersell you, not only is Andrew responsible for how you get into game, but also for a lot of really awesome features around joining game, like the join codes and how easy that is, or joining via Steam. Andrew put in a lot of work to make sure that stuff is like really easy and smooth to do. So Andrew is a big part of how the game gets to you too, and like our build pipeline and like all kinds of stuff.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I like the hype train that you're building for me. I don't know. But oh man, what was I talking about? All the
I'm
stuff
sorry.
that yeah, I've touched. No, you're good. I was gonna share some of the things that I've touched on this game already. We'll get into more of it. So like the character creator screen, I didn't build it, but I helped integrate it and do some stuff to it. All that like out of game menuing that you see, a lot of this I've worked on. Steph also has done a ton of the mock-ups, and that's why it looks as beautiful as it does. Things like setting menu. What I'm excited to talk about today is more of dedicated servers and sort of how you get into game other than just the join code or pressing that start game button. And then one of the first things that I worked on when I got on this team. So I've been here for a year, a little over a year, and the persistence of all your data and objects and things that you build, that is the first thing, and I think the most important thing that I worked on. So every time you log into game, hopefully all your stuff is loaded correctly, except for when we need to wipe it because we change the game so often. And then just a little more about me. I mean, I've been in the game industry for 7-ish years. Before this, I was at Riot for quite a bit, but I was a backend engineer. I never even touched any of the games that we worked on. I worked on player behavior stuff and system level stuff. So for me, this is kind of awesome to be the first time to touch a game and build directly into it. Yeah.
Awesome. And then there is a question in the chat. So, yeah, was the mention of dedicated servers about playtest, or is that a future feature? It is a future
Ooh.
feature that we are working on right now, actually. And I think we do plan to bring it to a playtest soon. Actually, Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so working a little bit backwards, we want to support dedicated servers on early access launch. And to get there, we're launching, or we're going to be rounding up some folks, asking for people to try and host a very early version of our dedicated server to make sure that it works, go through all that in the next coming weeks, I want to say, within a month. So if
Yeah.
that's something that you're interested in, we'll probably be posting in Discord about it soon.
Yeah, and I think definitely people who can help test dedicated servers is probably a very niche group. So if you are one of those people, we would really love to have you helping us playtest that. So definitely keep an eye out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very open in terms of like asking us questions or information. I'm very open about what we're trying to do. So if you have any questions, please do ask.
Awesome. Well, I think we talked. Oh yeah, a lot of first time. Sorry, I think my notifications are not quite working, and also I realized I can't like type in the stream chat right now. My like account isn't logged in, so I'm all over the place today. So I'll try to verbally respond, and Cheery is in here supporting the chat. But if I don't respond to you, just repost your question, and I'll try to get to it. And I'll probably try to keep some of them for like the relevant parts of the different segments of the stream. But in case we've talked a lot about playtesting generally. Do we want to kind of kick into some of how we learn about what's happening in the playtest?
Yeah. That's a great point to bring up. So first of all, it's awesome to see how many people have been playing our game. Like as it's ramped up, we see thousands and thousands of players now, as opposed to like when we first started, it was dozens maybe.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have so much data and so much feedback. We still do surveys; those are super important. But we've definitely needed to take some other directions to be able to listen to players and like make actions on that. So what I want to talk about is this system that we call analytics, and how we are trying to use it to take player feedback and just make decisions on that. So I have this stat here. Yeah. I think so far we've had about 35,000 different players try our demo at one point. And I just imagine that's a crazy amount. You go to a football stadium and there's maybe that many people there. So the scale of data that we're talking about is I don't know. It kind of blows my mind sometimes. But anyway, another thing I want to show that I thought was really cool is when I was thinking about how much information we get from our players, I also thought about how much we on the team test our game. So in like a 1 month development period, I basically said, okay, like what if, how long do we actually, play test and iterate and things over a release? And I guess like, okay, let's say 100 hours or so. And then based on the demo update, our first demo update in February 12th, this is how many player hours were accumulated. So how many people were playing essentially. And over the first 24 hours, we had about 400 or 450 player hours, which means in the first day, players had tested our game 4 times as much as we did in a month. In 2 hours, players had tested about as much as we did in a month. And I think that's really cool. I think it's like super sick, but it also tells me like, holy crap, this is just so hard for us try and make decisions when players are just so much more numerous than us. We have like 18 people.
Yeah, we try so hard, I feel like, to playtest like really often, but yeah, we always have to balance that with like actually like working on the game, and that takes a lot of time
Yeah.
away from us too to do that. And so it's this really tricky balance because it's like so important to playtest your own content and understand how it's behaving in the game and how multiplayer is working. But you know, you can imagine, yeah, we're just 16 people basically, and so getting 16 people into a couple of servers for a couple of hours like a week is, you know, it's important and it does help, but it's like so much less than, yeah, like what we can get directly from people playing the game. And also our feedback is kind of really different too from like how people play the game. Partially because we have cheats, and so sometimes we have to like really do like no cheats play test and be like do not cheat and like really make ourselves hold to it. But also we know so much more about how the game is supposed to work, so we just do different things. Honestly, like we don't go to some of the areas that players do. We don't run into some of the edge cases that you do, and we also don't have some of the same gaps in our understanding. So it's really different for us to playtest versus having y'all playtest, and we get such great feedback that it would be really hard for us to get just by playtesting ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like I need to make that public announcement. It's like the PBS, like this is all thanks to viewers. Like, yeah. Like actually though, because without people playtesting, like we wouldn't know what's working and what's not working. And our ability to playtest both in time and just who we are as understanding the game fundamentally different than players because we're building it, we need that information for sure.
Yeah.
Can I jump into an example of how we've started to use this data?
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So this data, like what we're about to look at, is kind of old, so it's not super relevant. But I think it's really cool to show uh, how we can sort of solve problems for players without just relying on basically direct feedback. This little thing here is what's called a heat map. The way it works is that you can think of it just like an in-game map here, except there's just the literal number coordinates. And we're looking at trying to find plays or areas in the game where players are experiencing low FPS. So when you play the game, we take periodic snapshots of things like FPS or network latency. This is something that's actually super, super common for basically every game, I think. For sure, online games, but even single player games usually take this kind of information. And it's for this reason, because then we can use it to improve the play experience. So we were like, all right, what areas do players have the worst experience in? And if you overlay it in on our map here, you can kind of see this correlation between some like stuff going on here, and then it's like, oh, well, that's kind of where you start. So that's really interesting. Red here being like there's a lot of people experiencing low FPS, in this case, 30 frames or lower. And then like as you go along the ocean, and we're seeing like, oh, well, in our most recent playtest, or in our upcoming demo update, we're adding this entire new region. And so before this, we had only the embrace. And so in a way, we're doubling the size of our map. And one of our concerns is, does that like make the performance twice as bad? Is there something along here that's like gonna make your performance really bad? One answer is we still don't know, but now we get to see. And so this is another example. It's like, what areas does your game hitch? One of the most annoying things for me, honestly, is when a game prevents me from playing. And so a hitch is like your screen pauses for half a second or a few seconds or whatever. And we're like, those are really annoying. They're really hard to track down a lot of times because it can be based on lots of different things. And so here we see there's actually like hitches a lot in the beginning, which maybe makes sense because there's a lot of players. But there's also stuff happening here and maybe as you get closer to the reef. So this is again just an example of like how do we take data, make decisions on it, so that we can improve the experience. At least that's what I like to think.
Yeah, and actually, there's a really funny. I'm gonna take the presentation mode back for a second. It's a really funny
Please.
area, like right at the left-hand side. So this big cluster, like Andrew mentioned, is like that's the embrace and kind of the main play space. It makes sense that there's like a density there somewhat. Obviously, we would like I think the hitches to be lower. I think the more the bigger the circle, the more like occurrences there are in
I
that
think so.
specific area. But you know, or maybe like the worse the hitches. something like that. But so that density makes sense because there's a lot of people there. But actually, there's these big circles off to the left. You're like, oh, what happened there? That was actually
Yeah.
from an internal bug we had. So it's even funny to kind of see this data here because it sometimes helps us be like, whoa, what's happening? Where like there was like this phantom version of the map that was being loaded on the left hand side behind the embrace that we like didn't mean to have and it was not intended. And people were like, why is my performance so bad? And when you look at this graph, you could like literally see that's where it started to like load in this giant asset that wasn't supposed to be there. So it's you can learn all kinds of stuff, I think, from this type of analytics, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see numbers and dots on graphs. That's what
Yeah.
I like. Can I take over again? I
Yeah.
just want to show one more thing. I think this is going to be a little more relevant to players because a lot of feedback we hear is like getting stuck, and getting stuck was particularly a terrible experience because usually it meant losing all your items and dying and like having a really hard time getting your items back, especially if it's in a crevice or something. We added an unstuck button, but at that point, you still had a pretty bad experience because you had to play it. So we wanted, and this is what we're going to continue track, honestly, is seeing where players press that button. Because again, it's kind of like oh, we need to figure out what's going on here in order to see, do we need to change the geometry here? Or maybe in the beginning, it's because players are like, oh, what does this button do? I don't know. But it's really, really helpful as opposed to going through our map as a developer and being like, can we slip on this thing or not? It's kind of like having, again, all of y'all play test, which, again, we need.
Yeah, that one was really interesting too because we got a lot of reports from the playtest of like, oh, like it feels like I'm stuck on things all the time, and again, actually, I think some of the a good example of the way that we play is so different that we weren't experiencing that to the same degree that players were, and I think we also probably just had a better sense for like what things would get you stuck and probably avoided them or stuff like that, and
Yeah,
so it's kind of interesting because we were like, how do we get more information about what's happening to players? And I was like, oh, well, we can have the QA testers run through the whole map. And we're like, yeah, that could be good, but it's like a lot of work and there's a lot of area to miss stuff. So actually, we put in this like analytics hook because we were like, oh, wouldn't it be great to just like know where players are hitting the button? Because that's probably what they're complaining about. That's probably like where they're experiencing the friction. So we put in this button, and yeah, like now we're able to like see literally, like I said, overlaid onto the map where that's happening, which is just, I don't know, it's just a really cool, I think, tool to have as a developer.
yeah. Somebody from chat, actually, while you're saying that, said, is there like a location function that can be used to help to report these spots? I I think in most cases, the answer is going to be no, except for using that unstuck button, which will one hopefully let you play again, and then will give us the information that we need to know that that's a thing. That being said, I think you're always more than welcome to go to our Discord or our, I don't know if we have a bug report link specifically and report stuff there.
We do have a forum for it, but yeah, it's a good point. That is like even another way we could expand this someday too. Is we could add things like that that would, like let you hit a button like and fire off an event to us. So that's something we could definitely think about. That's a really
For sure.
cool idea.
For
There was
sure.
one other question I think that came up that I just want to take while we're in the middle of stuff a moment to go back to. Is there any ballpark time when you'll release the game out of alpha testing? So this is like a little far off for us, but definitely before the end of this year, we're looking to release it into early access. I think we currently say Q2 of this year on our Steam page. So yeah, we're definitely hoping to release it into early access by that point, out of closed alpha. And that's it. So we can keep going.
Nice. The last thing I want to show is I think it's kind of fun. So analytics are really, really useful for us, and they're also built by humans, and sometimes we mess up. So what you're looking at here, this is like a what's called a funnel in business terms, I guess. Basically says like imagine you have 100 players, and you're like, I want to figure out of those 100 players, how many make it to the end of the game. And so in between the beginning and the end of the game, you have a set number of steps that you expect them to go through. In this case, you expect them to build a spirit anchor. You expect them to complete like different challenges or ruins, like in order, that kind of thing. And so what this kind of shows you is, well, it should look something like this, where you see, okay, 100 players started here. and like less and less made it through until maybe 10 or so made it to the end. It should always be decreasing as you look down, so you can see what is like preventing what are players not experiencing versus experiencing. Here, it just kind of doesn't really make sense. So if I zoom in, you can see like 1 embrace rune completed, 2 embrace runes completed. You should always have uh, oh sorry, and then 3 embrace runes completed. There we go. You should always have fewer or the same amount of 3 embrace runes completed as 2 embrace, but here it like jumps up. And so this is just a mistake on my end with how we're recording data. So even when we think we're doing things right, we gotta like be super careful. And then retribution or whatever, atonement. There we go. This is kind of what it should look like, and this is from a more recent build, and this is a lot more trustworthy. And so I feel good about this.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting too because we ask a bunch of questions like we said in like the surveys and other things about like how far did you get, what level were you, what did you experience, but as much as I would love for actually more people to fill out the survey, so if you are playtesting and you haven't filled it out, this is your call to action. But not everybody has time to fill out the surveys, or not 100% of people will actually fill out the survey. And so there's a lot of people in the game doing stuff. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what type of experience they're having. We hope that it's good, but it can be hard sometimes to like really know what's going on. Or maybe people are giving feedback in some area, but we're like, why is that happening? Or like, what's the pattern? And so data like this really helps us understand the pattern across a lot of people, especially in like, there's I think there's a qualitative and important part to like written feedback that is like interpreting the human emotion, and then there's a quantitative data set that is actually separately also important, so we understand how different things are like happening in the game. And it's really actually hard to like rely on a human anecdote to give you quantitative data. It's just like, I don't know, because like I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast. Like, so like how am I supposed to fill out a survey and be like, well, I was exactly like level 5, and like maybe a player doesn't even know what like a ruins is, because maybe there's like a lack of onboarding, so we can't really know sometimes from the written responses what the true pattern is. And so data like this both helps us get it from people who don't have time or can't fill out the survey, and also helps us like see the pattern abstract from the feelings, which is helpful. And then someone said, I like how y'all say stuff about messing up when we've seen other companies blame other things instead of just saying they messed up. We were just talking about this before the stream, actually, I feel like, a little bit, because we were like, we mess up all the time. We're a really small studio. A lot of us are doing some of these things for the first time. Andrew mentioned he hasn't worked on a game team directly before, or at least on like the game part of it. I was mentioning like I've never streamed before this job. I've never released a game on Steam. I've never done UX design. There's all kinds of stuff that we're like doing because we know that it's important or it needs to be done for the game, and we're not the experts in it. And we're learning, we're getting feedback, we're trying our best, we're failing and figuring it out, which is kind of just like a really cool part, I think, of being at a small studio.
I agree. It also, like, if we don't fail, it's hard for us to learn. I think it's really good for us to see these issues so that we can fix them, and as opposed to like, oh, we just trust it. We just trust it blindly. And I think part of that means being willing to say that we messed up, for sure. Also, one more thing I want to add. Like, I talked about play test hours and all that stuff. I think just as a gamer and like somebody who likes games, both feedback are so important, because I think this can't strictly tell you the whole story. Like, if you see here, we have 40 players who played, and then it basically says at this point only half of them made it to the first major milestone, which is building your spirit anchor. Like, maybe that's because, I don't know, our game crashed, or maybe because I'm trying to think of anything.
Maybe it was like unclear you needed to build it, or
yeah, maybe exactly. It could be any number of reasons, as opposed to players don't like building it, and so both just work together seamlessly, I think.
Yeah. We're always doing kind of a lot of like, and we actually, now that we have this data coming into, we're kind of setting up some times where we like regularly like look at it, like as like a subset of the team at least, and share that out. So we're kind of being like, okay, like look at the survey data, see what people are saying, like look at the hard quantitative data, see what's happening what are the correlations we can make, or what are things that we think that we need to change, maybe based off of what we're seeing, because maybe we don't want it to take 5 hours to get to this certain stage. Yeah, or maybe like we're saying, you see a drop off in the funnel, and we won't always know unless there is an anecdote exactly why that's happening, but it can have us start to look at like Andrew is mentioning, a lot of people aren't building the spirit anchor. So like maybe we go look and like, is there for sure a quest that says it? Okay, there is. Maybe it's too expensive. So we kind of can start to, even if we don't know exactly why, we can start to ask ourselves questions about like what is happening and what we could imagine would help make this easier.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, Danger, if you're talking about like Spirit Anchor time, but one of the things I do when I go in is I just get resources and build. I don't even progress. And so I would probably be at like the much, much later mark here or not make it. So it's not always necessarily a terrible thing to have a steep drop off for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, sometimes too, I think you do. It's
Well,
funny because there's like a lot of like a grain of salt you have to take with some of this data too, a little bit,
yeah,
because it's like there's no game that exists in the world, or if they are, fucking come at me, but like that has like a 100% go through of their entire funnel. It's just like not possible because people stop playing for all kinds of reasons. Like you said, maybe there's a crash, maybe they were just busy. I don't know. Maybe they were like, actually, the game's like too big and I have to uninstall it. There's all kinds of reasons people like don't progress through like an entire funnel too. So it's like it's sometimes hard because you're like, oh, is it like bad that this many people didn't do this step? And sometimes it's hard to know.
yeah,
And sometimes, depending on what stage we look at it, like we actually had this with our last playtest where we, we normally run the playtest just for 5 days or so over the weekend. And we were looking at the data and we were like, wow, people are spending a lot of time in the game right now, but they haven't gotten to a bunch of this content that we want them to get to. So let's see what happens if we just run the playtest longer, because maybe there's just too much stuff. And then once we extended the window, we saw, yeah, more people making it through the funnel, which is really cool. So it's kind of interesting because it both gave us information like, oh, 5 days might not be enough for like a normal player to like play through the game now because people play at certain hours, they only play for a certain amount of time, they wait for their friends, they also just spend more time doing things that we don't necessarily do as developers. Um, like free building or something, or like I don't know, just exploring, just like looking through all the spaces, like
yeah,
building racetracks and stuff with their friends. Like I don't know, people do all kinds of stuff that like their game hours are going up, but maybe their actions that we're tracking are not going up. And so it's kind of like just interesting. I don't know, to like see that pattern and have to figure out, is it bad? Is it good? What do you do? Is it expected? And we're kind of learning that for the first time.
yeah. Really well said.
Awesome.
I think I wanna start talking about the next thing, which is dedicated servers and some multiplayer stuff. How's that
Let's
sound?
do it.
Okay. So I brought it up earlier, dedicated servers. This is something that we're targeting for early access. But I also want to just, I don't know, take a second to talk about server hosting and multiplayer games in general. This is something that I've done with the team and helped in general, and so it's something that I feel kind of passionate about, and see if you guys are interested too. So first and foremost, there's two main ways that games that are multiplayer have like servers so that players can join. First is dev-owned servers. This is actually something that we used to do a year or two back, or maybe more. It was before I joined, where we were actually planning to host our own servers. And so games like League of Legends, what else?
Fortnite.
Fortnite, thank you. Any competitive game online, Call of Duty, that kind of stuff, they host their own servers. And it turns out it's pretty expensive. It takes quite a bit of time and upkeep to keep those going, keep those updated. And for us, we're like, we think our time and money is better spent making the game better, not having these servers up. And so the other way that a lot of games now have servers is player hosted. So when you run our game, our demo right now, and you press start game, you're kind of hosting another server that when your friends join, it's like you are the one that they're talking to. And that's really good for us for a lot of reasons because um, it means we don't have to worry about keeping those servers up. And then also, most games today that are survival crafting in our genre do this as well. And so what else do I want to say? Now I got to look at my notes.
Well, I think another thing that you mentioned earlier too is like, yeah, so like there's like, yeah, kind of like locally hosting, I guess is what we call this version, right? Where like you said, you're
Yeah.
like the person who is also the server. But a feature question we get a lot is like actually dedicated servers. Am I going to be able to host on another machine and like have that up all the time for people to join? Because right now, as a local host, your server is only up for as long as like you're logged in, basically. So as soon as you're like, I'm ready to
Yeah.
go to bed, server shuts down, everybody has to stop playing. So maybe you can talk about a little bit of like what that experience is going to be like on a dedicated server.
Yeah, absolutely. And you nailed it. It's like hosting on your own machine is good and all, except it has a lot of downsides. It's probably going to be not performant as a machine that was built to host a server. If you want to go offline, then your friends can't join if you're the host, all that stuff. So that does bring us into player hosted servers, or what we just call generally dedicated servers. We are shipping basically a standalone build of our game that does not include any of like when you load it up, it just kind of looks like a little black box with some text in it, and that's the dedicated server process itself. So you can run it on your personal machine. Maybe you're like a networking and machine PC hobbyist, and you're like, I have a bunch of machines that are super beefy. I want to host a server for my friends so that they can join whatever. It's great for that. We believe that shipping this is like a baseline expectation for a genre, and so that's why we're targeting it for early access. And maybe, do you want to start going through that? While I was looking for this stream and preparing for this stream, I found this old piece of content, this like UI UX mockup that Steph did, uh, going through like what would it look like to launch a server. We really thought about dedicated servers from the beginning. We're like, well, how do you do it? What does it look like?
Yeah,
Would
as
you like
soon
to
as
go
we
to
like
that?
literally started to work on the start screen, we basically did an overhaul of like our entire like what does it look like from beginning to end to like go into game. And then there's a couple questions actually just to hedge them off because I think they're really relevant. So um, one of them being, will it be only dedicated on my machine, or will I be able to have it hosted by a server hosting company? Which yeah, we do plan to have. We are trying to figure out who exactly we're partnering with still, so that's a little TBD. But yeah, we are planning
Yeah.
to partner with hosting services to also, offer you the ability to rent a server and be able to set it up. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything to
There's
add there, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's actually a lot of really good services there. Personally, that is the route I would go. I don't like the hassle of setting stuff up. I would rather just pay 8, $10 a month, whatever it is. Each game is different. I'm not sure where ours will be at yet. But it gives you all the things of like you don't have to worry about keeping your server up. Generally, the machines are like super beefy. They give you customer support. They have like really nice UIs. So that will always be an option. Once we don't know who exactly the partners are going to be, but that will be better or an option if you don't want to go through the whole uh, steps of setting it up. I mean, actually, a funny anecdote there. So last week, 2 weeks ago, I wanted to see how many people on our team could actually self-host on their own machines. So we got a bunch of people together, and they were like going through their router settings to do things. I was like looking up numbers to give them that kind of thing, and it kind of showed to me like, oh, I would rather just pay somebody to do this. But it was still possible. Everyone was able to do it. Even for me, it worked on my personal machine, did not work on my work machine. To this day, I still don't really know why. Uh, but there's always that option if you want to go through that down that route.
Yeah, and there's a couple of more questions. Just I'll start to answer some of these because they're so relevant to like the current topic. Um, But yeah, so the fact that you guys are shipping it with dedicated servers available is great. Will it also be available to do both dedicated and just a two-person on someone's PC? So we do plan to do, and I think I'm understanding this question right, but correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so we'll continue to support local hosting like we do right now. So you as a person can just start your own client and someone could join it. So that will continue to be true. And separately, you will have the option to do a dedicated server either on a machine you own. So something if you like Andrew mentioned, if you're a hobbyist or you just have a bunch of like you have an old computer but that's still pretty good lying around, you're like you could run the server on that and play with a couple of people. Um, but yeah, and separately you'll be able to rent a host with a partner that
Yeah.
that will help support that. So
Also,
hopefully that answers your question.
I wanted to call out El Romis said, please don't limit it to just one server hosting company. We don't plan to at all. We're targeting at least 2, probably up to 5 for early access. Not sure exactly what that number will be yet, though.
Yeah, that did answer your question. Great. But yeah, so like Andrew mentioned, we worked on this mock-up honestly like a long time ago. I don't even know, like a year and a half ago. We only barely just got, I think, the start screen in for that first demo that we did when we released the demo on Steam for the first time, which is cool. But it obviously doesn't have like a lot of this stuff. Doesn't have the carousel. Doesn't have quite this layout. It didn't until recently have the settings menu actually available in the screen. Thank you, Andrew, for doing that. But yeah, so we were kind of trying to be like, okay, cool. What does it look like as a player? And this isn't final. We might change some of this layout too. Or like, what I tried to like do research about like what are different survival crafting games that I've played where I thought it was like really easy to get into the game. What are features that I thought that they had that I think would be really interesting. So we have this like start game, and then we have tried to make it. I think I used V Rising as inspiration for this. I really love their I think my stream is a little offset, so I'm sorry about that. I realize it's a little bit maybe I can move it. Nope, I can't. Try to see if I can get it. Oh,
Womp womp.
no. Sorry, it's gonna be a little cut off. But yeah, so you'll see that there's like local hosts and dedicated hosts. So this button probably would launch you, I would think, to maybe some documentation about the external app and how to set it up. I think we didn't have this feature necessarily yet, even at this point where I was mocking it up. So we didn't really quite know what that was going to look like. But probably this links you to maybe like a portal, or maybe gives you some different options for like, hey, do I want to host it myself, or do I want to actually go through a hosting service? And so it'll point you to some of that. A local host, ideally, we want to in the future provide some amount of server configurations, and we definitely will have to. Man, why can't I get it to? Can I get it to show up better? Why is it so wonky? It's just on my browser, just like Mira was.
We're doing it live.
I know, clearly. Maybe I can go to like the editor. Maybe that'll be more normal. Yeah, for some reason that plays a little nicer. So yeah, it's just a little harder to tell. So yeah, you hit like kind of this. Also, this is how we do wireframes. So welcome to the secret part of the dev stream.
Yeah.
And so you click on this local host button, and there will be some configurations, some of which will need to support now that we'll also have a server browser, so you can find your friends' dedicated servers. So things like password, max players, but ideally someday other configurations too, like, I don't know, length of the day-night cycle, or like, do I drop my loot bag when I die, and stuff like that we really hope, I think, someday to be able to support. And then you can see this great loading screen that that I had. So I was kind of like trying to step through like every part of the flow though. Like, really, what does it look like? So you hit this button, what happens next, and like what do we tell you is happening? You hit like the character creator maybe first because it's like your first time launching the server. What happens at the next stage? Then you like load in. Also, this is a really old version of our map. This is amazing. Legacy screenshots in here. And so that was kind of like, some of the things we were kind of trying to think of while we were kind of like working through this. And we also have the server browser itself, which is obviously going to be a big way of like how you actually get into a dedicated server game. And I don't know, Andrew, if you wanted to talk over this one.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to say unless y'all have suggestions or questions. I feel like a server browser or some sort of browser is really important for anything where you can host dedicated servers. It's going to have details, it's going to have options, and hopefully it'll work well. I think the way I think about it is I look at what do other games do really well, and like, can we emulate that? And specifically, I think the things people care about are how do I find a server that I know I want to join? How do I join? Or how do I even discover servers? And so if we can support that well, I think we'll be successful.
Yeah. I don't know if I
Very
have
big.
any of the. It must be on another board too. Somewhere I had all of like the server inspiration files of like, ones that I thought like did it really well that we were kind of
Yeah.
emulating. Also, I'm glad people like Ryan does really name his servers like "do not join." It's so toxic. It's so funny.
I'm glad there's like nothing actually inappropriate there.
I know. I was like, as soon as I opened this version and not this version, I was like, wait, what did I write here? I was like, oh
There's one
Lord.
question from chat I want to address. So Stonewall, I'm just gonna call you Stonewall. Will you have to start over on someone else's server? Will there be multi-save files? Currently, it's completely dependent on the host, what your save file is. So if you host on a dedicated server that has its own, or a machine rather, that has its own save file, and then if another person joins that uses that same save file, we want to expand that. That's something that I do plan to expand to have some level of multi-save support. Uh, Probably going to be similar to what is with other games. That's not something I have completely fleshed out. But if you have things where you're like, I really like when this game does this, or I really hated when this game did that, I think that is something that we would love to hear, or I personally would love to hear about.
Yeah, and then one maybe more addendum to that too. I think while we do want to support multiple save files for now and allow you to be like, I have server 1 that's hosted with this group, and I have server 2 that's hosted with this other group. We're not currently planning for like cross server progression
Yeah.
saving, basically. I don't know how to say that. But you know, there's some games where I think like you kind of alluded to, Stonewall, that like you keep your character when you go between different servers. We are currently planning that your characters are unique to their server. Mostly because I think there's a lot of things that you like won't have access to, and especially in our game and the way it's structured, I think will kind of be a little odd to be able to take that data into another player's server. Like if you build a crafting station for them, but they haven't unlocked it themselves, they won't have any of the recipes. So unfortunately, we're not gonna like let you keep your characters across different save files. They'll be individual to those save files, but we will, yeah, have some multi. I know that's a big pain point right now, even in our playtesting. It's a little bit of a pain
Yeah.
point to like not be able to have multiple saves. So that's something we definitely want to work on. Um, is progression unlocks? Yeah, progression unlocks are per server. Well, per character per server. No, I guess per server generally, and some per character per server. So like I, as a player on say I join Andrew's server, and maybe I have my own server file too. So on Andrew's server, maybe I'm level 1 and I've only unlocked the workbench. But on my server, I'm level 20 and I've unlocked a bunch of stuff. So that's kind of how that would work. Basically, I would have a version of a character on Andrew's server that would be a different level than the version of it on my server. Are we
Nice.
able to save character creations to use that when starting a new server? Oh, that's a really great suggestion.
Yeah, I kind of like that suggestion, and in my head, I'm like, well, I bet we could, but I can't promise anything. But I actually really like that idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
cause that would be nice too, at least so you could like have a consistent kind of look. And then you could change it if you wanted to, but you don't have to. That's a good suggestion.
I wonder if there's going to be no, there shouldn't be anything that's like available at the beginning on one server and not also available on another server. Well, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll keep that in
Maybe.
mind. Um, Cool. And then yeah, there were some other questions just to catch up. So yeah, what I think you answered part of it, Andrew, but so when is this meant to be launching in early access? So yeah, if you meant dedicated servers as the feature, I think that's what Andrew answered, that the dedicated servers will come with our early access game. For our early access date, it's about like Q2 of this year, so we are planning to release into early access this year. And you will definitely hear about it if you're in any of our channels. With servers, would y'all open up the game to be modded at some point way down the line potentially? I don't think it's something we have a hard stance of like we would never allow it. But it is a pretty big undertaking actually to like make your game moddable, if that makes sense. Especially like full mods. Like cause I'm imagining, you know, a full version of that you're probably imagining too is like I can make my own maps, or I can like um tweak kind of like the items available to me, or make custom buildables and stuff like that. I think that's kind of stuff we're not planning to support right now, just because it's a pretty big undertaking for our type of team. But it's definitely not something I think we have like a moral stance on or something like that we're like, no modding ever. So I think that could be a thing that we might explore if the game's really successful and people really want that type of feature. But definitely not for the foreseeable future. It's something we talked about a lot when we were kind of like starting to make the game, but we just thought it would be a little bit too much effort for the size of our team, unfortunately. Let's see. Also, Andrew, I didn't miss anything. Is there anything else we wanted to show? Because that is like kind of, I mean, we're just in Q&A mode right now, right?
I was muted. Yeah, that's it. I think the one thing I wanted to show too is I was looking at Discord. I was like, how many people were asking about dedicated servers? And it turns out a lot of you were. All the way since I think June of last year was like some of the first questions being asked. So this is just a little collage I made of all of y'all asking when we'll ship dedicated servers, and I'm glad we finally have an answer.
Yeah, I think it's also one of our highest upvoted feature upvote board posts too. So
Oh, is it
definitely think,
really?
yeah, and it's on the Steam discussion forums and stuff too. So definitely people
Yeah.
are interested in dedicated servers, and yeah, we plan to bring them to you soon. Does anyone have any other? Oh, there was one other question, but yeah, if anyone has any other questions, it could be about the content of the stream. It could also just be about the game generally. So if you have any questions about like when's this feature coming or why did you do this, we can definitely answer that. There's one other question I think that came up in the chat that was like, what about backpacks? I think that's something we've talked about, a feature we would kind of love. Like, and I think backpack for most people, not just like probably cosmetic, but also like when I equip this backpack, it expands my inventory, so I have like higher capacity. That's something we're open to. I think we don't have a current like plan for it yet, but we love features like that. It's really fun to I think get that kind of like both cosmetic piece like a piece of armor, but that also like gives you functionality like more bag slots, and also there's a lot of little loot goblins out there that we know would love more inventory space. So that's something I think that we have a lot of loot goblins on the team too. So I think that's something we'd be interested in, but we don't currently have a plan for it. Have you done the small boat yet? I'm useless at sailing. It depends on what you mean by have done the small boat.
I love
So
that
there
question.
is a small boat. I think you maybe played on this one. I don't know, but there is a small boat in the current playtest right now. So it's just like a smaller footprint, and the stations are a little closer together, but they're still separate stations. So we do have a smaller boat available in the build right now that has like some storage, and is hopefully a little bit like easier to maneuver. Um, but it is not a solo sailing boat, which is a separate thing that we're kind of not pursuing for now. But we're still taking feedback on it and trying to think about what we want to do. Yeah, I would love to hear what you think about the small boat and if that helps you.
If it's not nailed down, it is made to pick up, and I agree.
I mean, sometimes I wish even the nailed down stuff I could pick up. A lot of loot goblins in the chat. It wasn't an attack.
Yeah, you're in good company.
Any other questions? Anyone have anything that they want to know about? The small boat does have some same storage. It has some storage. It has less than the big boat. It has more than it had I think last playtest. We did buff it. So it has more slots available to it now. But yeah, so the small boat does offer some storage.
We're also shipping, as Steph mentioned earlier too, some improvements with using the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I like if it was my decision, I would love to just be able to control everything on one panel. That's just who I am. But it is a lot easier now to solo sail with the improvements. But that's up for you to decide.
Weird question, and I don't know how to ask, but is there an offline mode? Is that what the demo is? So no, we don't currently offer. I mean, actually, Andrew, maybe you should answer. You know more about
Yeah,
this.
so we don't offer an offline mode. I think there is something to be said about wanting to play a game and just not allow other people to join, which again is not something that our game currently allows, but I think will be. Uh, we can't at this point completely support an offline mode where you are not connected to the internet, and that mainly comes down to just our size of our team, the way we built the game. So we built it as an online only game first. And because of that, it would actually take a big lift and a big effort to support purely offline. And so we're not pursuing that. We basically want to say, like, okay, let's put our calories, let's put our work in like somewhere else. I think it's unfortunate, but I hope it doesn't actually impact too many people.
+1. Awesome. Well, we're wrapping up. It's like the last few minutes of the stream. Does anyone have any other questions for us? Cool. Well, just some last plugs in case while people are typing those. So if you are in our playtest group already, or you're playing the demo, or playing any version of the game, it would be really awesome if you shared screenshots in our Discord so developers can kind of see what is happening, and so we can maybe reshare some of those screenshots too. Cheery loves to like post player screenshots on like Twitter and some of the socials, and she'll definitely credit you. But we'd love to just see like what you're building, what you're doing, what looks really cool, what you're excited about. So definitely, if you're in the Discord and you're playing some version of the game, we would love if you share some screenshots or footage with us. We would also really love if you haven't wishlisted the game yet and you've been playing it, and if you love it, please wishlist the game, share it with your friends so they wishlist it. Wishlisting really helps us. Actually, like, I mean, it helps us in a few ways, but it helps us know that people really do want the game and that there's going to be enough people to buy it, honestly. And it also helps other people that are interested in the similar games find our game. It helps the Steam algorithm be like, oh, people that like survival crafting games or like adventure games or whatever like this game and wishlist it, so I will show it to more people. So wishlisting is really impactful, really helps us. So if you love the game, if you're enjoying it, please wishlist it. If you don't love it, that's okay. Give us feedback. You don't have to wishlist it if you don't love it, but we would love to hear your feedback because we want to know how we can make it better. So please do that. And final reminder that we are going to update the demo with a bunch of the new stuff. So if you're not in the playtest yet, but you are in the demo and you're waiting for the new content, a lot of new features like the boat improvements, like spearfishing, like new underwater enemies are all going to come to the demo next week. So keep your eyes out for that because I think there's a lot of exciting stuff.
Your spear's out for that.
Huh? Oh my god.
Your spear's out. It's
I got
spears.
it.
Okay.
I almost like went over my head. Helmet possible hair or upgrade. So we are working on a helmet toggle right now. We may eventually offer helmets that have like their own hairstyle with them. We'll probably not adapt every helmet to work with every hair piece, unfortunately, because that's like just a pretty hard tech art-y problem that we're not going to be able to solve on our small art team. But we will have a helmet toggle. So hopefully that will help. And last final plug, if you are in Discord or if you're going to join our Discord and you really want to see specific things like maybe more community events, maybe more sneak peeks, any kind, or like more dev streams, whatever you kind of want to see, what would make the community most engaging for you, please post that in our Discord. We would love to hear your ideas, and we really want to find more and more ways to have fun with the community and really be able to connect. So let us know what you would like to see. But
yeah, I want to plug one thing too.
Yeah.
I never mentioned this. My handle is THJarJar or Jar Jar Ginks in this chat. So if you see that, that's me. I've been listening to all of you. I lurk a lot, and I love seeing any art and images that you post. So thank you all.
Yeah, I never thought about the fact that we don't really share our handles on the stream. We just share our like real names.
Yeah, yours is pretty obvious though.
That's true.
Except for off. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like Cherry said, the demo will be wiped. So if you're playing on the demo currently, especially, take your last screenshots. Make sure to save those. Make sure to share them with us because we'd love to see. But I think that is it for today. So we will see you in a few weeks for our next dev stream. But thanks everybody for tuning in, for asking questions. I hope it was fun to get a sneak peek behind how we learn, what players are doing, and about our dedicated server feature. So if you want to see more content like this in the future, let us know. But we're out for today. Thanks everybody.